All right, guys, on to Missouri today, a team I have a lot of respect for. Anytime you go on the road in the SEC, we talk about it all the time. It's tough to win on the road in the SEC, and I got a lot of respect for Eli, the job he's done, what he does offensively and defensively. They do a good job. I've always thought a lot about the job he does offensively and the issues they create defensively as well. This year they got big personnel up front. They play physical. They just played a really tough game against Auburn. Tough way to lose a game. But we're looking forward to getting ready for these guys and going on the road in the SEC.
Kirby, in that game on Saturday, it seemed like Kent State had some success throwing out of the perimeter, some screens. Looking back on the film, was there anything in particular that stood out as far as on defense, what happened in some of those plays?
No, we misfit one of them, the one really, explosive one, and we just misfit it. Kid didn't get outside leverage, and football 101, you turn the ball back to your defense. And if you don't turn it back to your defense, you get outflanked. Didn't do a good job of doing that, and the safety was expecting him to come back inside, and he went outside and made for a big play. So that was a good job by them, poor job by us.
Coach, could you update us on the status of Javon?
Yeah, I released a statement yesterday, I believe Claude released, and disappointed in Javon. Hate it for him. They've got a wonderful family, but made poor decisions, and it'll be dealt with internally.
Kirby, injury situation, you got Jalen Carter, Kenny after the game the other day, Arian and A.D. Mitchell. I wanted to see if we could get an update on those guys. And also noticed that Arian dressed A.D. didn't. Is that any sort of indication on where they are as far as coming back?
Well, Arian has been getting better and better and better. He ran some last week. He hit some good numbers. He's not planning on cutting, or he wasn't planning on cutting last week. His pregame, we felt like he was getting in better shape. He was able to do more in practice last week, but he wasn't 100%. And we'll find out today where he is. He probably is a little bit ahead of AD, but AD's got a shot this week as well. So we're hopeful to get both those guys back. You asked about who? Jalen?
Jalen.
Yeah, Jalen's nursing the ankle injury. He was much better going into this game, and we're hopeful that he's able to play this week. I mean, it's just a nagging ankle injury that he's struggled to get over, and it's really tough on a defensive lineman because you're dealing with 600-700 pounds being pressed on you. Who's the other one?
Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny was what I talked about after the game. He had the same thigh bruise that he had already had, got kind of hit on that same spot, but it feels like he'll be fine. He was fine after the game. He was fine yesterday. We may limit him some today, but feel good about Kenny being able to go.
Raise your hand or questions?
Kirby, we say that Javon Williams will be handled internally. Does that mean what does that mean? Does he miss games or?
Yeah, we have a process. We have a process here we go through, and we have a committee that he goes in front of with the athletic director and Doris, and that's what I mean by it'll be handled internally with us. Still a lot in the air there.
Coach, Luther Burden was a guy that you guys heavily recruited, and he's already making a big impact as a freshman. What kind of matchup problems does he present?
Size, elite skill set. He's strong, physical. You watch him as a returner. He makes people miss. They find ways to get him touches. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He has speed sweeps. He runs deep, and he returns the ball. He's a very elusive physical runner. You can tell when people go to tackle him. He's stout.
Kirby, two-part question. One, not to belabor it, but I guess the status is in flux, and we don't know if Bullard's going to play Saturday. And then two, is a road game healthy for a team like this in terms of getting everybody away and an environment away from campus just to kind of maybe circle the wagons and get the momentum back?
I don't know. To me, every game is important in terms of circling the wagons and playing well. It doesn't matter if it's home or away. We travel away. I think it being 7:30, the biggest difference for us is going to be the amount of time there is leading up to the game. We've had two of these really, wake up, eat, go play, and this is the reverse of that. So you got to work off a different kind of mindset and approach to it. But home or away, and you play on the SEC, you got to play really well. I think when you go on the road, you take less people. So and sometimes our players aren't around their families as much when they're in a home game. So it'll be important that we play well and we focus well and we concentrate well.
Going back to last Saturday's game after you watched the film, can you give us what you liked and what you didn't like about your three primary backs in that game?
I think all our backs played really well in that game. They play a different front, and we had some tough looks. So I think if you just go merely off statistics, it's hard to go because sometimes they don't get the same looks, meaning the defense is not the same. Sometimes the play call is not the same, and sometimes they stunt or move, and a guy might miss something. But I'm very pleased with all three backs and the things they've done. And to be honest with you, Branson, we've got to keep trying to bring him along and get him ready because he's got a physical skill set that we need.
Kirby, what are your other options at the star position? I don't know if you addressed this earlier, but I don't think I noticed Tyke Smith playing. What is his availability?
Tyke's been doing a good job. Tyke got to play a couple games earlier. I think Tyke does a good job. He's physical. He's tough at the point. And he's still, I don't know that he's 100% back, but he's been practicing really well. Like I told you a couple weeks ago, he had some high speeds and has done a good job. So he can play there. Marcus Washington can play there. Chris Smith has played there. Kamari Laster's played there. We cross-train all camp, so we got all kinds of guys that can play the position as well.
Yeah, Kirby, kind of following up on Branson, how much is pass protection, picking up blitzes, that kind of thing, kind of the main barrier that's keeping him from seeing the field more? And how do you try to bring a freshman running back along on that front?
It's not that. It's the barrier is three guys in front of him that have a lot of play experience, have a lot of ability, understand things. I mean, I think we do a good job of putting the best players on the field, and as he continues to grow and get better and understand things, then he gets more opportunities. You earn that by what you do in practice. The biggest thing Branson's jumped up in has been special teams. He's taken on a more serious role in regards to those and continuing to get better as a back.
You talked about Eli and the way he runs his offenses. What sticks out as far as the ways they look to attack whatever defense they're going up against?
Well, there's a lot of misdirection. He does a good job with eye candy and does a really nice job running the ball, being physical and running the ball. They're always well coached on the offensive front in terms of the way they block their plays and the way they complement each other and shots down the field and playing vertical. I think their quarterback's done a good job this year. He's a good athlete. He can scramble around, extend plays, and make plays with his feet.
Kirby, I think coming into this year, all that you lost last year at inside linebacker, all the playmaking and everything, where would you say you are at inside linebacker with the guys that you went with? I know you only played like 3 on Saturday. Is that rotation tightening up, or is it is anybody standing out, or are you getting the level of play you want out of that position right now?
I'm very pleased with those guys as leaders, as football players. They practice really hard, all of them do. I mean, the guys you don't get to see on Saturday, they practice hard too. They come out there and get better. And you guys didn't see Smiling Pop much last year, and they were out there practicing really hard. Jalen Walker, Sorey, Ryan, Tresman, all those guys, E.J. Lightsey, they've done a tremendous job of getting better with each and every practice, each and every day. And I think that unit continues to practice well and play well, and we'll play as many as we need to play.
Kirby, I think you signed at least 4 or 5 star prospects each of the last 5 classes. What have you found the level of buy-in is after being in the spotlight and recruiting, coming to Georgia, when there might be guys just as talented fighting for playing time? How do you manage that?
I don't even know who you're referring to because I don't know who is 4 and who is 5. I honestly don't. I have no clue. I couldn't tell you right now on our roster who is and who isn't because I can't keep up with it. It's not important to me. What is important to me is they buy in, and I judge that on a recruiting class, not a rating coming in. And I've been tremendously pleased with our onboarding process, our education process for them. That it's in terms of what is the expectation, clear and concise. What is my job? What is my role on this team? Where do I fit? How can I help the team? And each one of those guys falls in different spots. You know, it doesn't matter how many stars you got. It matters the culture of the buy-in of the locker room, and they usually take on the role of the older players. So the older players on our team have bought in for multiple years, and that leads the younger players to doing the same thing.
Kirby, is Brock a position by himself, or is he a symptom of the tight end position is just a bunch of different things now?
Are you talking in general for us, or like
Yeah,
in college
for you.
football? What are we talking about?
Whichever.
So what?
Whichever. Take it wherever you want to go.
He's unique. I mean, but I think the position has evolved, right? So he's evolved with the position. I mean, as he was growing up and younger, he saw tight ends doing things in the NFL that the traditional tight end of the New York Giants lining up in 13 personnel with 3 O-linemen as tight ends is no longer the tight end. It's not what it was. And he didn't necessarily just play tight end in high school. If you watched his high school tape, he was not really just a tight end. So I think part of the sell in recruiting was you won't be used just as a tight end. Now, tight ends are different within tight ends, just like receivers are different within receivers, and running backs are different within running backs. James Cook was not Zamir White. You know, they're different people. DBs, you know, there's a star, there's a safety, there's a corner. So there's this variety that never really existed, but now at tight end, there's a variety within the tight end room that I think exists, which makes him different. And it's okay to be different at that position because offenses have modernized, and he's been part of that evolution.
Bear Alexander made some plays on Saturday. What have you seen out of him in his progression, and what did you like out of him on Saturday?
Well, in his progression, he's practiced against better people every day, being over on the scout team for whatever, I don't know what he spends 50% or 30% of his time, he goes against our offensive line. So the number one way to create value is go against really good people and prove you can compete at a high level and you can sustain that level. Last week was his best week of doing that. Now, what will he do this week? How will he respond to it? I don't know, but he has progressed slowly. He obviously had to deal with a shoulder surgery, so he didn't get to go through spring. That probably set him back some, but he has evolved and gotten better, just like we want all our guys to do. He's also gotten a little more opportunity because of injuries to other people.
Kirby, about the run game, I know you've told us how the quick pass, the now screens, the quick passes outside, long handoffs, and monkey call kind of serve the same purpose as the run game. It kind of count as your run game yardage, but is there a priority on trying to get something started between the tackles in the sense of how that could affect the play action game down the road?
Well, we think we are successful in the run game. I'm not talking about perimeter passing. I'm talking about we evaluate each and every carry independent of itself, and we think we hit our run goals. So when you start looking at that, the way we calculate it, we did that. And we're being explosive. We certainly can be much more explosive in the run game and improve in that area. But you know, when you have the number of explosive plays we've had on the year, you have to weigh whether that's a run, a pass, a screen. Who are you, and who is your identity? And I think that's starting to play itself out for us a little bit. And I think we've got a really physical offensive line, and I think teams play us a certain way. And we're going to do off how teams play us.
You talk about cross-training in the secondary so much. I mean, what does that look like through fall camp and into the season, still working on those guys? And is that something you've had to do more as college football's evolved, with spread offenses, spread the field, all that kind of stuff?
Well, we only really have 5 positions in the secondary. You could maybe say 6, but that's only if you play dime. So I don't know that it's evolved anymore in terms of, like, there's not more positions. We don't play more positions. We're not a 7 or 8 DB team. We're usually 5 with the potential of being 6 in some situations, and we play 4 sometimes. But we cross-train all our positions. You know, receivers play X and Z, slots play outside and inside, tackles play guard, you know, centers play guard. I mean, it doesn't matter the position. You're trying to get the best 11 or 22 or 33 when you count special teams on the field, and that's what you try to do as a staff to get your best players out there is to have depth.
When you were recruiting Marcus Rosenby-Jackson, did you know that he was going to end up developing to being a dynamic blocker? And what would you make of his development as a whole, given, so many people just look at catches and receptions, and in reality, that's not just all you're asking Marcus to do?
I knew his personality bled to fitting our culture, which is toughness, which is physicality, which is special teams. And he's a talented wideout. I mean, not many people can go out as a true freshman and do some of the things he did prior to his injury, and to come back from the injury and still have the same tenacious attitude and toughness and just buy-in. I mean, he helps create a culture of physicality and toughness in the room. I can't say that I knew he had that. I knew he was a competitor. I knew he fit what we wanted, and he's done a great job of carrying that message.
Kirby, how much are you guys monitoring the hurricane, and will it possibly impact your travel plans?
Not sure. Just really started noticing it last night, and it affected a lot of high school games down there, and guys that we're currently recruiting, but not much information right now to know exactly how it will affect us this far up.
Kirby, any thoughts on the goals on at Georgia Tech with Jeff Collins being out, and how important, or is it not at all, for you to play Georgia Tech every year?
Man, I'm worried about Missouri. That's all I can tell you. I don't have a lot to say. I mean, since that game, my eyes have been on Missouri and concentrated on them, getting ready to play them. I wouldn't be the head coach at Georgia if I was worried about other things. I owe it to our team and our university to concentrate on what I can control.
But playing Georgia Tech this year with them?
Yeah, I'm focused on Missouri, Roddy. I mean, that's what I'm focused on.
Let's take two more questions.
I'm curious about Malachi starts. Obviously, he seems to be exceptional at playing the ball in the air in particular. Is he total safety? You were talking about cross-training, or is he a guy who can play cornerback if he needed him to?
Well, he hasn't played corner, and he really hasn't played safety. He's really a athlete, right, that played a lot of high school quarterbacks. So it's important when we bring a guy in that, all the reps we gave him in the spring, we tried to get him at strong safety and free safety, and we cross-train guys as freshmen at strong safety, free safety. We try not to break out of that mold to go to other things. He gets reps at different times. At practice, we do one-on-ones. We stick people at nickel, we stick people at money, we stick people at corner. We move them all around because when in spread offenses, the receivers can be inside, the tight ends can be outside. So what you might call a corner is a guy on the outside. Well, our safeties play on the outside. So he gets reps of doing that and doing those things, but we're focused on developing him right now as a safety.
Kirby, can you tell us some of the backstory on the recruitment of Darnell Washington, kind of how that went down, maybe some more interesting stuff behind the scenes?
I would say Hartley could probably tell you more details about that. I mean, a lot of trips to Vegas to get to know him. He made a couple trips here and showed interest really in coming to the Southeast because he went to some other places. I know he went and visited maybe Florida, Tennessee, Alabama. So once you know someone has interest in coming this way, then you take heightened awareness and you evaluate, and obviously his size and athletic ability blended with the SEC. And I remember watching a basketball game where he was pretty phenomenal in that.
Thank you.